Matt, obviously we can see you're at the training ground, which is good to see after your COVID test. So you've obviously been able to watch training at a distance. How have the lads been this week?
They were quite bright today. Surprising, really, in terms of the schedule of the week is slightly different to normal. But I don't know, maybe Wednesday training works. It's something we'll have to look into in the future because they had a spring in their step today. But that's probably with the expectation and the excitement going into Friday night's fixture. It's billed as a big game of football, and it feels like a big game of football. Two teams in form, two teams challenging at the right end of the table. It'd be a great spectacle and a good game to be involved in.
Before we get into the opposition, the main concerns, Giovanni Brown and Czech Diabate. What's the latest on those two?
Look, Czech's obviously saw. Saturday's impact was a big impact. The good news is we don't think that there's anything serious in terms of a break or a crack in his ribs. We feel it was a muscle spasm and a real bad bang to that muscle in around his side area. He's been outside today, but unopposed and only doing gentle work and wasn't moving particularly well. So we'll give him a little bit more time, but he'll do very well to be available on Friday. And similar for Giovanni, really. A real shame because he's been our talisman of late. Some fantastic performances and obviously the goals to boot as well. So we could well be without those two in terms of starting personnel from the previous weekend's game. But then that's more and more opportunity for the players and the squad to show their worth and their strength and step into the fold and perform well. The longer term absentees in terms of Harry Kite is an obvious one and he won't be travelling. We've got a chance that our friend Zanzala will travel. He's done a couple of days training, so there's a chance he'll be involved. But there's a couple of other players who are still struggling from the weekend. So we'll assess it. We'll give them as much time as possible. We might be a couple less on the bench come Friday night, but we still go there collectively in a strong position.
When we look at the task ahead of us, Mansfield, 13 games unbeaten, 10 of which they've won. This is going to be an incredible game of football, you'd hope.
Yeah, but all runs have to come to an end at some stage. We found that ourselves when we were on that unbeaten run. Full credit to their recent run of form. Been so impressive to watch from afar. I watched them live weekend before last. A really impressive team. Got top quality players for this level of football, but we have to back ourselves. Otherwise, there's no point going all that way on a Friday, all the way up to Mansfield. So, we understand what the game will look and feel like. We've got to nullify the opposition as always, but also trying to implement our style of play on that game of football. And not only are we boosted from our recent run of form, but there's some good away performances at big ground and big clubs in the past couple of months. Bradford, Swindon, Walsall, even Bristol Rovers to a certain extent last weekend. So, you've got to respect the opposition, but we've also got to respect what we're capable of.
It's interesting how a season can change. If you look back at Mansfield's form, their good form really started to kick in after we beat them here at St James Park. They've only lost twice since then.
Yeah, they were really low that day. We spoke to the management and the staff after the game, and they were obviously at a low. They'd been on a poor run of form, but they had so many players out injured at that time. They were disjointed in terms of the playing personnel on the pitch, and they strengthened again in the January transfer window as well. So a totally different animal this time around, and we find them at a totally different stage in terms of their season. A huge contrast to, was it back in October when we played them? But we're looking for the same outcome. And as much as we've had ups and downs in that period and COVID and injuries and so on and so forth, we're quite settled ourselves as well at this moment in time. So there'll be no excuses come Friday night. Hopefully no excuses from both parties, both teams. And hopefully, like I always say, hopefully it's a good reflection on two good teams at this level. We felt Bristol Rovers game was partly that. And we wanted to implement our quality and more control on the actual ball as opposed to the game itself. And somehow we've got to wrestle control this weekend.
With the game being on Friday night, of course, it does allow us that extra day ahead of the Swindon game on the Tuesday. How important do you see that extra day?
It'd be huge. It'd be huge because if we're struggling to play Saturday to the following Friday, certainly Friday or Saturday to the following Tuesday is going to be a struggle for some of our players. We know the strain that game's put on this group of players due to previous injuries, due to experience, due to the age, the maturity inside their bodies. We know the strain that this group of players are under. So we'll obviously stay over after the game on Friday to give them a good night's sleep, get some good food inside them that evening and the following morning. Hopefully have a recovery session of some sort at the hotel, maybe in the pool or in the gym, and then we'll all travel back together and do another sort of recovery/training session when we get back on the Saturday. So as soon as Friday's finished, as always, our focus will be on Tuesday night in Swindon. But first things first is getting ourselves in the right mindset to travel all that way on the day. When you're sat on a coach for a long period of time watching an iPad or a TV screen or a games console, sometimes you can lose your brightness and sharpness. And brightness and sharpness is certainly something we'll be needing when the game starts on Friday.
Obviously, this is the start of a really busy month now. For you, is it about finding that balance between protecting the bodies that perhaps need a rest, but also trying to put your best team out?
Yeah, well, you want your best players on the pitch in as many games as you possibly can, but you can't put them at risk, and you certainly can't put them at risk in the middle of a 3-game week or at the start of a run of 3 games a week, because they'll miss the next couple of games and potentially even longer. So you've got to make sensible decisions, but we've got to approach every game in its own individual merit, and we want to win the game on Friday night, so we want our best personnel out on that football pitch. But even after Friday, win, lose or draw, there's another 14 big games left to come. And people keep saying about these 3 games of Bristol Rovers, Mansfield and Swindon. As soon as those 3 games are done, people ask me about the next 3 and so on and so forth, and the next month and the next couple of weeks fixtures. And it just keeps on building and building and building. So player availability is absolutely key. And if that's our better players or our more consistent players or our players who've been on the pitch more than anyone else this season, you want them on the pitch in the running, so to speak. But there's an awful lot of football left to be played. And, Friday we might not be at our full strength in terms of the injuries we picked up last weekend. But certainly we're moving towards a strength of squad for the remainder of the season.
And finally, then obviously we had the fans forum on Monday. I know you weren't there in the capacity you wanted to be, and there was some awful jokes for myself, but I think it was a good night all round. I think it's really important, those events, that, not just for the relationship between perhaps yourself, the players and the supporters, but also for the transparency within the club as well.
Yeah, I'll be honest, Craig, I couldn't hear your jokes. I would have laughed otherwise. Honestly, I could barely hear a word anyone was saying. So it was difficult in terms of online, and when it's not face-to-face, you lose that personal aspect of it, which is what a fans forum is all about. But, I thought the lads conducted themselves really well. I thought they spoke sensibly. They spoke about their, not just appreciation, but their admiration for the football club and how much they're enjoying it down here. And that reflects well on the environment we've got here. As a manager, you want your players to enjoy football, because when they enjoy it, they generally perform at their limit and at their best. And then the fans were able to hear a little bit from myself, but also a little bit from Nick and the trust, and the plans not only at the stadium and within the club, but at the training ground as well. So, we try and give as much information and as much knowledge, and keep the fans as in tune with everyone else and with everything that's going on at the football club as we possibly can. And nights like Monday night strengthen that bond and strengthen that understanding of why and when we make decisions, and what we need to make decisions as well. And it's only right that we keep on hosting these events. Hopefully I'll be there in person next time. Hopefully I'll be able to hear your jokes fully first time round, as opposed to having a little giggle to myself the next day when I watch it online. But it's, like I say, it's part and parcel of being a member of a special club and a special group, and even the fans who can't attend in person at those events, I'm sure they watch it with invested interest, because I've said it time and time again, they are our owners, and when we're addressing our fans, we're addressing the owners of the football club.